Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Love Boat Project, episode 9. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mike Robertson. Ahoy.
Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy. Before we get rolling in this episode, I will say there were probably more nautical terms in this episode than I've ever seen in any episode.
I feel like we learned a lot in this episode about the running of the ship
Mm-hmm.
and the politics of the ship in a way, and of the
yeah.
Princess Cruise Lines, I guess. No, this was very informative as we continue to build layer upon layer in this intricately plotted episodic television program.
Well, and it's funny here too because how many new people, potentially new cast members, were unveiled in one single episode?
Yep.
As opposed to Vince and the ship. So it is interesting. They're really they're letting us see behind the curtain a little bit on that boat.
And I'm excited to see if any of it actually pays off, or if it's something where they were just like, throw in a position that may or may not be real on the boat, or throw in a name that we'll get back to. It's always like you always hear that George Lucas had all those names in the first that long supposed Star Wars that he wrote, and then he eventually went back to all of them. It's like, so very interested to see if some of these future heroes actually make an appearance.
I agree. So we have episode name is The Captain's Captain, Hounded, A Dog's Life, Romance Roulette. And it's funny, under original air date, I wrote 11/Hounded, 1977. I don't know why.
Wow, Hound Day.
I believe it was the 26th.
So is this a post Thanksgiving episode?
That's a good question. That's a great.
Like, is this the Saturday after Thanksgiving in 1977? Because it didn't really have anything to do with Thanksgiving.
No. So maybe not.
Or
maybe
anything
the week
for that
before.
matter. It had very little to do with anything.
and even we talk about what was on Carol Burnett show as always. Mike, there was a movie that night called Family Plot.
Oh.
This is the final directing role for Mr. Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, that's why I know Family Plot. Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty decent movie. Bruce Dern. Yeah. I remember seeing it. So that was on.
Yes. I think when Bruce Dern recently passed away, that was when they brought up Family Plot a lot.
R.I.P. Bruce Dern.
Yes.
Sports, just briefly. Interesting. The Cleveland Barons lost at home to the St. Louis Blues. Attendance for that game, Mike, 4,497.
That's people. Why there are no longer the Cleveland Barons.
R.I.P. Cleveland Barons. Our beloved 76ers beat the Buffalo Braves 112-107. Flyers did not play.
Talk about relocation scoreboard today.
No kidding. So what did you think when you, as we're introducing this episode, actually, let me give you the summary. I'm sorry, I'm jumping way ahead here. Captain Stubing is stressed out when his belligerent father boards the ship for a cruise vacation. 3 gals who reunite after their college years indulge in a dating game that ends with true love. And a German Shepherd terrorizes one of the ship's passengers.
Which of these things is not like the other?
Amazing. And it's also funny. So as we're getting into it, we had an episode, I don't know if it was the last one, I can't remember, it was 7, where there were only X amount of the guest stars listed as guest stars.
Yes, episode 7 had four guests.
Right.
4 guest stars, and really only 4 guest stars, like legitimately.
Legit. This thing, look, Joanna Kearns wasn't even listed in the credits.
So it's funny. I had the same exact thought, and I kind of didn't pay attention to the credits when I first watched it, but then on the rewatch, in my head, I was like, "This is going to be our longest opening credit."
That's what I thought,
because there are 8.
Yeah,
in my opinion, legitimate roles that you could have put up there. So to only have 4. And I guess they're the 4 most. Well, I don't even know what I think. I don't know that they're the 4 biggest stars. I guess they're the 3 biggest stars. I can't speak for old PJ Muldoon. But it is interesting. What's the Mendoza line to get on the guest star list or the other?
Well, if we just look at the people that didn't make it, right? What is the difference here? You have a David Landsberg as Morton. Not a lot, he was an American writer, actor, producer. Joanna Kearns went on to be Growing Pains, but at the time,
Yeah.
she had a pretty big role. She didn't have, a significantly smaller role than Jane Curtin had.
No, it really was. And the thing is, too, we've seen that they'll split a couple in half.
Mm-hmm.
That old guy didn't get
problem.
Right. So I guess you can argue that you take both of the other Jane Curtin girls or you take neither. That's okay. The one that was shocking to me was that Frank the plumber didn't get the credit. He was carrying this baby.
Look, this guy, so that's Vincent Baguetta playing Frank the plumber, aka Frank Vallone, aka another crew member we've never met before. Tons of TV experience of TV appearances. Tons. I mean, the list was just incredible.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, he looked. I don't think I found anything that I was like, oh yes, that's where I knew him from. But he looks like everybody that's been in everything.
Absolutely. He just looks like a detective or a truck driver or he had one of those
chops. Friggin' chops. He was good in this thing.
Good. And he was a poet.
Absolutely.
Extra. So the ones that they did credit first is Phil Silvers. I'm not going into any particular order. He was played Sergeant Bilko on the Phil Silvers show. I didn't know that. I didn't know the association. No. So I haven't.
Did you know him from a Mad World?
I did not. I knew the name, but I didn't know who the person was. Like I've seen the name around.
Because now I vaguely remember seeing some Sergeant Bilko clips, and I definitely saw Mad World. But there's a Simpsons episode that rips off Mad World. And at the end, there's a guy whose car is sinking into the ocean or the river.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Phil Silvers. And I think that's where I think of Phil Silvers. And that is a perfect characterization because Phil Silvers is very distinctive in this episode.
Oh, if you see him once, you've seen him.
He's Ray Bolgerin for sure.
Much nicer man than Ray Bolger, in my opinion.
I'm just saying, he's Ray Bolgerin. You got what you paid for. It's like we need a Phil Silvers type. No, we have Phil Silvers.
If you invite Phil Silvers, just know that Phil Silvers is coming. Yeah, you invited Phil Silvers.
This really, because I don't know that many people, but this isn't that much of a episode where people are playing against type.
No. This is very much like, let me do my strength.
Yeah.
Let me, push that. So that was Phil Silvers. Judy Canova as PJ Muldoon. Comedian, actress, singer, radio personality, again, in a million different things. Jane Curtin as Regina Parker. Original cast member of SNL. Won back-to-back Emmys for Kate and Allie. She was Third Rock from the Sun.
That's our first SNL, I believe, right?
That is our first SNL.
Future
that's an interesting thing.
Future or current. Yeah. I mean, I doubt we're going to get a lot of the... probably... Garrett Morris.
75. Maybe. 75. I mean, so she's coming off...
And that's the heyday of the show right now. It's actually impressive she's on that show.
I'm trying to think of who's a logical second SNL appearance.
I feel like it's going to be Garrett Morris or Lorraine Newman. I think the rest of them are just too big. They'll never be on.
I'm hoping for Father Guido Sarducci. Personally.
Oh, once we get to that next layer of cast. Okay, good question. Will the next Saturday Night Live member be somebody of that original cast, or are we talking it's going to be a future, like somebody?
Next iteration. Yeah,
right. Like
I say so. I don't think you're getting another. I think Garrett Morris is the only one out of all of them.
That I agree with. And then it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else because it's not a huge window.
No, and then you get to that early cast, the pre-Eddie Murphy cast, and that's nobody's getting on there. Charles Rocket's not making that boat.
No, I'm trying to think of who else was on. I mean, early Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but that was nah, that's kind of
Yeah.
pushing it. That's pushing it. It's
Yeah.
too late.
Is,
So
but this
keep an
might be
eye
a
on that.
thin Saturday Night Live show, which makes sense because you're supposed to be kind of
You're on a different network too.
You're probably too cool for Love Boat. Like Jane
Well, yeah,
Curtin
you don't need it.
Jane Curtin
in a way.
had acting chops and probably
Sure.
aspirations, whereas the rest of them, were just doing drugs in between comedy bits. So
I noticed with her almost in every scene, there's not a majority, but there's a chunk of time where her mouth is wide open. She loves to have her mouth wide open, like big giant expressions, and it was hard to.
I'm a big Jane Curtin fan, so I was happy to see.
Curtin.
I was happy to see her.
I liked Kate and Allie. I thought it was back in the day. I was fine with that.
Yeah.
Skipping on Joanna Kearns, talked about David Landsberg, Gary Bergdorf. In alphabetical order, he should have been first, but corporate Walter Eugene Radar O'Reilly, the only person to be in the movie and serve as a regular cast member of the TV series.
So it's our second MASH person.
Yes.
And we had an off-air discussion about this recently, that we feel like we'll probably get as many MASH members as any show just because of volume and really availability, probably. But this almost felt like we need to get Radar on this show. He's available for 2 hours. Let's cook up a plot where he basically just sits in a bathtub.
We just give him a check.
Yeah.
He grows a mustache a little more. Well, let me ask you, because we did talk about being the second cast member from MASH. On the MASH totem pole, who's at a higher position? Is it Radar or is it Hot Lips?
Oh, I think it's Loretta Swit.
Really?
I think she's probably number 2.
Really? After Hawkeye?
Yeah, because I think you can argue that Trapper John or BJ would be number 2, but they both were there at different times. So it's almost like you're splitting the vote. Same thing with Colonel Potter and Colonel Blake.
Yeah, I was a big Major Burns fan.
Same thing with Burns and the British guy.
What was his name?
I think Radar
and
the Jamie Farr and the Priest are probably all in the same bucket. I think at this point now, anybody below the sidekicks is fair game. Henry Blake.
Well, he died in a tragic.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe his plane bits end up in the boat, but I don't think that gig is too low for many of the MASH cast members, especially as we get further on.
Oh, I agree. I was thinking maybe we would see more of the MASH people as they look towards a career after
MASH.
I'm not going to say it.
After MASH, yeah.
I remember seeing that. I was excited. I watched it. It was terrible.
I think you gotta, if you're them, even now. I mean, the show goes on for 5 years, but
it's amazing.
Even now, you got to start getting that resume ready, right? Like you're getting typecast. Radar. That's why I was surprised. I just kind of assumed this would be more of a Robert Reed situation where he would really be trying to oh yeah, you know me as Radar, but here's me doing something completely different.
He's a cat burglar.
And he comes in so hot. You think, here we go.
Completely. He wanted to go swimming so bad.
Yeah, nope,
he was ready to go.
He just gets trapped by a dog.
But you know what's weird is maybe he was a super creep. Maybe he was a super creep, and the fact that the dog, all this happened to him was the best thing because he did have a bit of a creepy vibe coming on the boat.
Do you think that that's his dog, and it's like when Jacqueline Smith had her husband on the show?
I got a real problem with the dog story. I got a real issue with the story. Right. So just in principle, really.
The one thing I want to say before we get in is I'm starting to get interested in who writes these storylines.
Okay.
We do have a favorite. They did not work on this one, but the people who wrote the murder one have written some of our favorite ones. And so I kind of just keep an eye to see.
Yeah.
especially when there's one that I really, really like or really, really don't like.
So you kind of know
And
what wave is coming.
so the person who wrote the Radar Dog one has written bits, I believe, in our last 2 episodes.
Oh, really?
They wrote the twins bit
Well, we love
last
the
week,
twins bit. That was fun.
which was fun,
Not
logically
great.
strained a little,
Did it
credulity
make
a little bit.
sense? Was it scientifically possible? Probably not. But
But you know what else they wrote?
Hmm.
Barry Keys. So,
Alright.
that writing team might just be in charge of like wacky, kind of off kilter, but
I still think best out of 3. Well, I'm not annoyed with this. Well, I am, but
yeah.
just it's interesting though. I think we should definitely kind of track the.
This is the only ones they wrote for the season. We're done with them for this season, but they do
that's
come
disappointing.
back. So.
Yeah, they never came back.
No,
we go
everybody
over
seems to come back, but everybody's also writing for like 19 different shows.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, so we are ready. We are ready to board the ship. Julie and Doc welcoming people in. The first to arrive is Don Flanders, Radar O'Reilly, Gary Bergdorf, if you will. Yells so long, rat race. And the funny thing is, he addresses Julie as fun. Hey, fun.
Oh, see, I thought he was saying hello, fun, like goodbye, rat race, hello, fun. You think he was calling Julie fun?
I don't know. He was looking at her, but maybe he wasn't really looking at her.
He was like, he was ready to be on vacation though.
He was coming in hot.
You know what it was? He was coming in so hot. He was doing the whole like 3 days till retirement bit. Like you knew something was going to happen.
Murtaugh.
Yeah, he was
Very
just
much.
like so excited to do vacation things.
We never got like there had to be some like he had to be like, well, what's this character's motivation? Why is he so pumped up? I mean, a cruise is great, but to be this,
like hot. He must hate his job, which I assume is in the military.
Maybe it's the same character. He's under a pseudonym. Yeah. He went AWOL. 77.
Can you imagine? You go AWOL, you get on a cruise, and you're stuck.
What are the odds? What are the odds I'm on a cruise ship with a camera crew and now there's 3 stories? Amazing. He's so excited to start enjoying the ship. He's free to start enjoying now that he's officially checked in. And he
snuck a peek at that. He snuck a peek at Julie's clipboard. That's not kosher. That's against security.
But it's upside down. That's fine. As long as
and as we found out immediately after, security can't even keep track of their own security.
No, they don't even know. They don't even know. There's a missing. Yeah. Speak of the devil. Gopher rushes over to inform Julie and Doc that security called one of their guard dogs are missing. They took this very lightly.
Okay,
we're just like.
So let's back up here. So this is the first we've heard that there is some sort of security pre-check. So I assume it's like a bomb sniffing dog or something. So good, that's great. We're getting more security on the boat or in the boat vicinity.
Sure.
Now, I've been in enough lines with when dogs walk around. They're not just walking them around loose, right? Like
no.
They're being held by somebody who's in charge of security.
Yeah, or they would like rip people to shreds. Look what he almost did to Radar.
Right. So this dog is just missing, and they don't like. Hey, let's hang on 5 minutes, or
let's wait before we let people board because there's a loose.
There's no security guy running in the background up and down the steps. Like there's just
you never see that guy. The only security guy you see that has related to a dog is the guy who comes in from Mexico.
Yes.
At the second stop, not even the first stop.
Finest. Yes.
Jesus. Oh, and our third stop. Let's get a dog guy in here.
I got a lot of problems with that whole storyline, but
huge problems with that storyline.
Strike one to the security force, which is 9 episodes in, and we finally have some security. And if they're the police,
we're in trouble. If that's what's keeping jewel thieves off this boat, we've clearly already failed.
Yep.
That's funny. So they say there's a dog missing, and Doc just makes this joke about the only barking dog on this ship is Captain Stubing, and Julie's explaining it's he's testy because his dad is going to be on the ship.
Yeah, this is an exposition dump. This whole first scene is just like, here's all the plot.
I got to tell you, Meryl Stubing Sr. is my favorite character
I knew it.
ever on the
I
show.
knew it. He had every complaint. I think Meryl Stubing Sr., huge fan of this show. He's got all the notes that you've been talking about.
He's hitting all of them. I mean, it's just,
Yep.
I was like, I'm standing up clapping for some of the things this guy's about to say.
No, I know. He was saying the things that you've been thinking this whole time.
Good for him.
Good for you.
Thank you. So a few seconds later, you see Captain Stubing. I'm sorry. A few seconds later, Captain Stubing Sr. It's very confusing when you have two Captain Stubing.
Yeah, Stubby.
Stubby reports for his vacation. Thank you. When Captain Stubing rushes over, he, stow my gear, ready my cabin. A lot of weird saluting. I don't know what Doc saluting
and like he's somehow is coming down the steps. He's like, "Father," like it's just like
he can tell he's all flustered. I thought it was funny he picked up the bags, but then he gave him a Gopher. Like that made me
apparently
kind of giggle.
Like there must be like cinder blocks in that bag. Gopher went right down with the bag.
Or it's a mime bit.
It's always a mime bit with Gopher.
With Gopher.
But I did think Stubing, or first half Stubing, was excellent in this thing. He had some good zingers, and when he did the bit about this is why my first words were "mama," and it was just like
that was funny.
You could tell that Gavin MacLeod was feeling comfortable in this one for a while.
Yeah, I do agree. I thought there were a few weird character things in this. I thought it went a little further.
Oh yeah, it got odd later, but early on he was playing it pretty well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Beth Luckner sees her gal pal Toby Chapman, aka Tubby Toby. She used to be known as. Everyone's going, "Oh, Toby, you're not giant anymore. What happened?" Yeah. Well, apparently she's had 2 marriages, 2 divorces in 5 years, and she used the triple D method, which is desperation, disgust, and divorce. Hot mess.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
So the Joanna Kerns character didn't know about both of her divorces and seemingly at least one of the marriages.
Like how close?
Nobody knew about her weight loss. 35 pounds just doesn't come off like that.
That's more than internet. That's more than like a pre-internet issue.
Right. But they had the 3 of them went to college together, I guess. So how does that? Did they have this reunion planned 5 years out, and we're just like, we're not going to talk in between, but then we'll be on this boat together? Like there was no.
Don't tell me anything.
Don't tell me anything. I want to be surprised.
Don't write to me. I don't want to see any pictures for
Were you not
5
at
years.
the second wedding? Was that an elope situation? I was a little confused with that. And then I was a little confused on how Gopher was able to ascertain the names of these people based solely on first name of one of them.
He's Gopher.
Yeah.
He's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could figure. I like the whole nobody's paying attention to him, so he can kind of say whatever. I love that gag.
The whole gag was good, but the button on it was great. When Jane Curtin's finally like, why are we still standing around here? Let's get started. And she's like, this clown.
Call him a clown. It was great.
It was great.
It was fantastic.
I'm always in for somebody getting called a clown, but that was perfect.
It's like they waited for it. You thought that was the joke. That wasn't the joke. I love
this Toby lady was very good, just as good as the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just never went on to a career like the other 2. I was surprised. I really kept expecting her to be somebody. She was really good.
I thought so. Out of the 2, if we compare her to Joanna Kerns, I thought she did a better job in the episode than Joanna Kerns.
I think Joanna Kerns, shockingly, was there for other reasons.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Mrs. Seaver was kind of spilling out of some of her outfits in this.
No kidding. It was weird. I was just It was very strange. The first time I was just kind of like, whoa.
Good for you, Morton.
She has growing pains face. It's just
it's what it is. It's that first or second picture probably in the growing pains credits that you're always like, man, Joanna Kerns was a fine looking younger woman.
They didn't have her in these outfits in that.
Out of way, Dr. Fever.
In the opening credits of Growing Pains.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those old pictures. Like, good Lord.
No, Morton's not going to let that happen.
No, Morton's locking that down. So this is so good. So Merrill, Stubby, reports to his son's office, and here we go.
Yeah.
Bravo. He gets on him for spending too little time on the bridge. Thank you.
I've been on this boat for 45 minutes, and you've been in the bridge for 4.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's solid. That's very solid. Thank you, Stubby. Thank you.
I mean,
it's the most ridiculous
thing. He comes
in
right away.
What they must be I think they must be aware of it, or the writers are aware of it, because why would they even put that in there? I think it's
I think they're like, yeah, let's use this to cover up some of the scathing. What do you think? Where do you think criticism like this was before the internet in 1977? Is this water cooler?
I would think so. I think that's where the water cooler thing came from. The water cooler, that was like the internet back in the day. That
was there like a Bantha tracks for Love Boat fans?
Yeah, but everybody's watching it. There was nothing else to do back then.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
You're watching one of 3 things.
Yeah.
So you have a 33.33% chance of having a conversation.
It's either this or Carol Burnett or a random ass movie of the
movie. That's it. That's all you got.
So
yeah.
When they start the scene, Steubing is talking to a quote Mr. Walters.
Thank you. I wrote that down.
And so when Stubby is giving him the business about it, Steubing says that he's not on the bridge because there's a deputy captain.
Exactly. What?
So I guess that answers most of your criticism from before, as somebody is driving the boat, which is what we thought. But you're telling me Mr. Walters, first of all, not a position? Like, does Steubing calls Isaac, he calls Gopher, he calls Julie Miss McCoy. So does he not use like titles? I assume deputy captain. Are you still a captain?
There are weird rank things. I know in the Army, there's like a warrant officer where you formally address them as Mr. or Mrs. That's it's just weird. Okay. So I don't know if that's like a peer-to-peer thing. I'm not sure.
Dep cap.
Not sure. They're sort of selective when it comes to the military customs that are followed. So who really knows?
Do we get a Mr. Walters ever? Do we get a deputy captain? Let's start there. Do we get a deputy captain who actually appears? And if so, do we get a Mr. Walters?
I mean, it would have to be from the same writer.
You don't think there's like a big board? There's not a big board in the spelling studio lot?
I'm curious to know, like, does this writer have these people in mind? Like, I don't know.
I'm excited.
I like to think that we meet Mr. Walters.
We've yet to have any of these people that are referenced appear so far, but it's early.
It's early. It is very early. I mean,
like we've got none of Doc's ex-wives. We don't have anybody's family. Steubing's dad was never mentioned before this.
And this is just the first mention of a new crew member. Many more to come in one episode. We're just getting started with
the org chart's getting crazy on this.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. Yeah, Steubing. This is not a warship; it's a cruise ship. Burka.
Yeah, like you said that the boats, no cruise lines are been taken, at sea or something like that. Like I said, Steubing was doing good early.
He's awfully defensive, man. Awfully defensive about not driving the boat.
Crazy.
Yeah, his dad's nuts. His dad's legit nuts.
His dad still thinks he's at sea.
With those he shouldn't be driving anything with those giant glasses. Good Lord. He would half his face was glasses. Like, why does your forehead need glasses? It came up to like here. They look like cartoon eyes.
You get Phil Silvers, you get those spectacles.
Phil doesn't miss anything. That's why.
Nope.
Gopher comes in, engine issues, but spells it. It's like, what?
Yeah, come on, Gopher.
So what
Gopher.
kind of-
Gopher is becoming less and less valuable to this whole operation the further we go. They really need to have a Gopher episode relatively quick.
well, he's just is so selectively stupid sometimes. Where you just this defies the plausible level of dumb.
I just
It's
don't think he's
beyond the
there
dumb.
for any purpose. Like
They
not
have-
on the show. I think he's moving plot on the show, but like I don't know. Everybody else seems to have some level of competency that Gopher just doesn't seem to have.
Or some level of depth
Yes.
has been examined.
Yeah.
But not on Gopher at all. Like nothing on him. Just
And if
surface.
he's just going to be straight up comic relief, he almost needs to be more overt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Doc's the funny one.
Yeah, Doc's funny.
So if Gopher's going to be like pratfalls and stuff, he's got to be more about it.
Yeah, because I don't know if different funny when you already have a funny. It's fun. He has a very specific. He's a very small like niche in the show.
I feel like Gopher's for like the old ladies.
It's. I think he's
got like a
accessible.
very like your grandma's favorite character is Gopher.
Well, it's easy stuff to laugh at.
Yeah.
It's nothing. You're just getting everybody.
Yep.
Don Flanders. Here we go. We're back to Don Flanders. Yeah. Well, here we go. Changed his swim trunks. He's eager to get going.
Yep.
German Shepherd on the bed, growling. Tries to get past the dog. Races over the door. Gets stuck. Go ahead, because I think you should begin on this because there's a few things.
Okay,
here.
so here's what we know. Here's what we know so far. We know the report of the missing dog was basically before Radar gets on the boat, simultaneous. So that we know that for a fact the dog is loose.
Correct.
As Don Flanders enters the boat.
Correct.
Don Flanders comes upon the dog while he's in his room, and the door to his room is shut, and the dog is on the bed. These rooms are not that big. We've established this. These are not big rooms. Even the captain's room is not that big. Where is this dog? The dog can't be in the room when Radar opens the door, right?
Sure.
So how the hell did the dog get in? Did the dog open the door when Radar was in the bathroom?
No, I think this was my theory. I was thinking about this too. Maybe when you get your room, the door is open.
I think that's possible. I did think that was possible.
But if he's in the bathroom, why wouldn't he close the front door of his room if he's going to get changed to go to the pool? Or did he go in the bathroom because he didn't want to close the front door? I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
So you're thinking that the only feasible way is that he didn't completely close the door when he gets in the room, regardless if it's open or not. He didn't completely close it, and the dog just butts in and then jumps on the bed. And
shut the door behind the dog.
Yeah, I don't get it. Something's up.
Yeah, something is up. Okay, let me tell you what's going on with this story.
Everything else with this plot makes perfect sense. That's the only thing.
None of it. You know why they lost me? At 7 minutes and 30 seconds, you get a glimpse of this dog jumping on the door of the bathroom door, and the dog is a boy dog. Clearly a boy dog. Done.
Oh no.
Thank you. Yeah, I was done with this at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I go, I write it down. Male dog. No idea why I wrote it down. I just wrote it down.
Oh no.
Because it was so pronounced at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And I was like,
away, dog.
So when we get to where we're going to get to,
yeah,
I'm out. I'm out. Like,
so you were in until that point?
Well, at this point, it didn't. No. I wasn't in. But, I don't want to spoil it. But come on. Yeah. Really?
No, that's true. So I didn't even pick that up, and I thought this was a terrible storyline.
Oh, I was mad. Oh, I was like, That's why I did the rewatch. I was looking for those little
for,
details.
for important things like that.
Gotcha. All right. What are we doing now? Oh,
Romance roulette.
I hate this idea too. It's so awkward. Ugh. You want to handle romance?
I love romance roulette. I think it's great.
Really?
This is one of my favorite stories that we've had in the whole run so far. I think it's great.
The whole story or a third of the story?
That I think the romance roulette storyline and all of its in toto is one of the best storylines we've had so far.
Fair enough.
So basically, these are three college friends, and two of them are hot to trot, and Jane Curtin's a little more reserved. She brought a lot of Lord Tennyson. Lord Tennyson in this one.
She loves it.
Like somebody clearly went to college to read books. But romance roulette, we find out, is basically a game where they pick a word, any word, and they all agree upon it. And basically, the first three men that they hear say that word, they have to go hook up with. And this is a great idea because you're on a boat, no strings attached. It's like we always talk about, like, I don't know what to watch on Netflix. Give me that random button. This is basically the random button.
It is the random button.
So Jane Curtin's like anti, because she thinks it's a college game, but yet there we are. We fast forward, and they're all.
She wasn't too anti.
No, and we're all sitting at a bar at the table at the bar, ready to go. Joanna Kern's very ready to go.
Raring.
I mean, she is barely wearing a top.
I was like, what's the point, ma'am?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Does Mike know about this?
Seriously.
Does Boner know about this? That's,
Bone does not know that
don't tell Boner about Mrs. Seaver.
Kudos to Jason Seaver, though. Good job.
Good job, Jason.
That's how you get a home office psychology. It's like, I wouldn't leave either. Good for you, Jason Seaver.
Good for you, pal.
But they end up sitting by the bar. And so Screwdriver, good job with Screwdriver being the word because it has multiple things. But they basically are like, we're going to go in order. So the first man within earshot that says Screwdriver, Joanna Kearns, is basically going to seduce on this boat. It is easy to follow. It is easy to understand. Good for you, Joanna Kearns and Toby and Jane Curtin.
Yeah, go ahead.
But Doc, so okay, so of course Doc gets involved. But so is Doc taking drink orders?
I don't know what he's doing.
He comes over and asks for a orange juice and vodka.
Yeah, but remember he did that episodes before.
But they were for
twins,
him,
and they had to.
But they were for a lady.
I don't know. He's probably just trying to romance some chick. I mean,
can you imagine if he went over to get those for another lady and then ends up with a different lady?
Wouldn't shock me one bit. I mean, there's no real like solid timeline.
Yeah.
How long have they been on the ship before they start playing this game? Yeah.
I want to say this is at the latest that night.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So for Doc to.
Yeah.
But the other thing.
Any port in a storm.
Well, apparently. I just wrote my note was like, wow, Doc is Doc.
It's funny. Do you think Doc is so good?
Riddled with venereal disease, perhaps. Go ahead. He can't do his job because he's just like,
Yeah, that's why he's picking up drink orders.
Yeah.
He can't work anymore in a medical position.
He's not a doctor. His nickname is Doc. He's just there on the ship.
He's been to the doctor so many times.
Anti-VD medicines.
So, do you think Doc is he's got so much game that he already knows romance roulette? He's played this game a million times. He overhears the ladies or something like that. And so when they come over and ask about the drink, he's like, nah, not into Joanna Kearns.
No, she's not for me.
I'm going to pass on this one. And so he hems and haws and can't think of the word Screwdriver. But who does think of the word Screwdriver? Good old Mort.
Poor Mort.
And man, Mort is like a classic 70s nerd.
Oh, glasses, shorts.
It's everything.
From Jersey.
Hackensack, like... The guys in the office aren't going to believe this.
No.
It was perfect.
Well, Joanna Kearns didn't run away from the situation.
Joanna Kearns was playing the game. I
She
get
was
the
a trooper.
impression these guys have played this game a lot, and you take the good, you take the bad.
I just want to know what their batting average is then. Not success, but as far as like an awful person to really do this with versus a good person. Like, what's the Mendoza line for success as far as a successfully
Well, you assume they
hooking up
usually
with
do it in
someone?
a bar, right? Like or a college party or something like that. I would assume that's where
I
this
would
originated.
think.
This, if
I would
anything, is a longer, engagement.
Oh, much longer. It was 10 days, right?
Yeah, that's what we're working with. Yeah.
So
Good for Mort.
good for Mort. Good for Mort. So we see Regina's alone by the bar when the ship's plumber, Frank Vallone. Here we go. Another cast member.
Yep.
Another cast member.
Another staff member.
Another staff member. Exactly.
Yeah.
Not cast member, staff member. Interesting. He walks over this toolbox to fix Isaac's sink. He kneels on the floor. He asks anybody to hand him a screwdriver. She does, but she refuses to let go. Here we go.
Yep. Kismet.
Now we have Frank the plumber.
So in between that, Toby ends up with Doc and literally is just hey,
sorry.
do you want to make out? Basically.
Oh yeah, she doesn't even do the standard pickup line. She's like, "Can I pick you up?"
Right. And Doc's like, "Sure. I've been on this boat for almost 20 minutes.
Let's go to my cabin." It's
Doc
funny.
How is Doc not exhausted from last week?
Well, how is Doc? Is he ever on the clock? Is he only on duty if somebody needs him on duty? He doesn't have any office hours, but if you have an emergency, somebody can get in touch with him and he can give you a wheelchair for it. I don't know what.
We see it in this episode. The plumber is working way more than the doctor.
Also, the plumber has a hell of a code of conduct that Doc is not following, or
He
Julie's
didn't stick
not
that hard
following.
to it. Yeah,
Isaac didn't follow.
I have the exact same note.
Kills me.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
Now let's go back to Don again in the bathroom.
It's so stupid.
So stupid. So stupid. It's just so he's back in the bathroom, opens the door and uses a coat hanger to try to drag the telephone towards him. It wakes up the male German Shepherd, who angrily barks at Don before grabbing the phone receiver in his mouth. His mouth.
Yeah.
Again, Don flees into the safety of his bathroom. Yeah, you made a good point in the beginning of this, saying how long did it take him to shoot this?
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure that dog attacking the door is the same shot from the first time.
It is, because again, you can see the boy and there's tail wagging. Well, if you're gonna say, you need to hire a better dog actor, and I say that
he was not Eddie from Frasier.
There's supposed to be this ferocious dog, and the dog's jumping on the door and wagging his tail. Come on. Fake barking noise? Can we do something?
As much shine as this dog gets later in the episode, I'm half surprised it didn't get a credit. If this was if we were up to the portals, that dog would have made it to the opening credits.
Oh, with a bark too.
Yeah.
Just a roof.
But so here's my question. So again, we think we're in the first night.
Yeah.
Dom was going to go out. So this is still the first night. So that's fair. But as we go on, and we don't see it yet, but it's at what point, how long could you be dead in your hotel, in your cabin, before they would come check on you? Because at some point, a maid should have accidentally opened the door and been mauled by this dog, right?
It's just a filthy ship, Mike. It's just, they don't clean it.
We know that there's
dogs running around.
We know there's house cleaning, but is that just for staff?
Well, the other thing to think about, you bring up a good point, is there was no mess from this dog. This dog was laying down on a made bed. The bed was still completely, No poop, no pee, no
That-
anything.
That room needs to
Oh,
be burned to the studs after everything that happened in there.
that's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Let me tell you something. Next week, if somebody's in that room, we gotta get them out of there.
You don't want to be in that room.
No.
We got to call them.
No. What
Get out
number? It was, they kept showing it. It was,
was like
F131. So we need to keep track of F131 and never go in there.
Just so ridiculous. My favorite captain. Here we go. Stubby rips Captain Stubing about the shift being off course by half a degree.
Yep.
Love it.
You see, he had a
wasn't at the
long
wheel.
jacket too.
Who?
Stubby had a long dinner jacket.
I did. I was curious to see if he had a short.
Nope.
No short jacket for
No.
him.
That's for you company cruise guys.
What do you Stubing saying? Yeah, that's not for a military man. Military men don't wear short jackets. You better get out of here with that. Captain Stubing explains that this stuff is all controlled by a computer. And Stubby saying, computer can't match the human mind, and Christopher Columbus never used a computer.
And history was on his side.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's not lying.
Nope.
Stubby's not lying.
So, did you notice that Julie is wearing pretty much the same red dress that trainee was wearing last week, and everybody made such a big deal about?
It was pretty much the same thing.
So nobody lost their minds when Julie wears it.
Didn't somebody gave her a compliment when she came in? I don't remember who it was. Was it Doc?
It was
Gopher? Was it Gopher?
I think it was Gopher.
Yeah, nobody said a word.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little racy for Julie.
Why was Julie at the captain's table like 3 nights?
I don't know.
Nobody wants to eat at this captain's table anymore. The dad was there like every night. It's always a bad time.
But what is the out of everyone you have on this ship? If you have 9 dinners, 10, whatever, say 10 dinners, and that table only had 3, 6, 8 chairs.
Right.
So that's 80 people minus 10, 70 people without the captain, and 600 and something on like I don't understand why anyone would want to have dinner there.
Well, that one guy was the president of a bank, so it must be like a status thing.
Well, as we learned, maybe.
But we've seen some real duds at that table too.
We sure have. Well, it makes sense why Stacy Stubing now going back and her husband were at that table. If they were at that level,
they've got pulled. But
legit.
Robert Reed shouldn't have been there.
No, was that just an invite? Well, it just works for the story. I mean, let's just be honest. There's no logical reason why that.
I don't care for that being the reason.
No, I don't either. Like, you have to have some sort of logic behind it. But
right. What are we doing here? This
so show is intricately plotted.
You can't tell me it was
this
just.
Thing is more about the love. It's not the love boat. It's the love captain's table at dinner, because it was.
We're still over. I don't care how this ends. We're still over. There were more bad dinners than good today.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Where are we? So Doc enters the dining room. Oh, no. Hold on, please. I was about to skip ahead of a major thing. So Stubby and Captain Stubing arrive at the table. Dude, this is
bits.
They both try to sit in the head of the table.
That could have been more of a bit, though. I'm surprised they really didn't. Phil Silvers must not have had the physical capacity to really do one of those,
physical. You can hurt somebody,
each other or something.
Yeah, you don't want to. But it was interesting.
Kill Phil Silvers. So.
Yeah, we don't want Phil Silvers to die. No. We like Phil. Julie said something.
Yeah,
like that's the Captain Stubing didn't say anything.
Well, he's a beaten child mentally by his father.
One captain should know that you can't.
Well, I don't think they have a captain's table in the war. You think they were like stopping?
Maybe not
WW2 to have a nice big meal.
Well, not so much that, but I do know, like in the Navy. I'm not in the Navy, but like fraternization between enlisted and officers highly frowned upon, even to the point of eating. So, like on some of those ships, the eating schedule is like enlisted, separated by the officers, completely separate thing. So
So, no captain's table there.
that's what I'm saying is it's probably like, upper officers in one area and
He
enlisted.
really doesn't know where to sit.
He's just sitting there because he's the dad. He sits at the top of the table.
Yeah, but do you think in his mind he feels like he's the highest ranking officer on that ship?
Yes. He says every time he's kind of confronted about it, he plays like innocent,
No.
but then does almost nothing to
No, he goes
actually
right back.
change his behavior.
He goes right
Show
back.
me you're sorry, Stubby.
Yeah. Stop being a D, Sonny. Or
Yeah.
chubby, stubby. Him too. So Doc enters the dining room with Toby on his arm. Then we see Beth is dining with Morton. When he says, like, his coworkers are never going to believe that.
Mort does a great job because I feel like there'd be a tendency to like really play it up,
Like a Jerky Boys sort of bit.
but just like he never really questions what's happening. He just goes right in. He's like, "This makes no sense. Cool, whatever."
He's the smartest guy in the room.
Exactly.
He's just
Well,
like,
he wins at the end too, which is
Yeah.
great.
who's carrying whose bags?
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. Isaac delivers an Irish coffee to Regina's cabin. She's asking about Frank the plumber. Has she get in touch? Gives her the number of the maintenance department and says Frank's on duty tonight.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you.
Isaac, it's dinner time. Isaac is delivering one Irish coffee
One
to a room.
Irish coffee. And he's a
Like,
bartender.
This staffing around here is terrible. So, like, who's bartending right now? We know there's not a second bartender. Couldn't Doc? And Doc, I guess, can't go drop that one off.
Well, I think who it is. I think Mr. Walters is bartending. That's who I think.
No, the deputy captain.
The deputy
Is
captain.
he also the deputy bartender?
Well, somebody, because first it was Mr. Walters, but then they said it's a computer. Maybe Mr. Walters is the name of the computer.
Would
Cool
you
stuff.
like to play a game?
Yeah.
Jane Curtin signs something for the one Irish coffee. So that might be the first time we've seen an exchange of anything. Because ostensibly she's signing it to the room, but
Right.
probably putting a tip on there. And we've talked about everything being inclusive, but she definitely
What's the
filled
point
out
of
a
signing
thing
it
like
then?
you would in a regular hotel.
You didn't even have to sign anything getting on the ship.
Yeah, but when you got to pay for that one Irish coffee. Also, Jane, go to the bar. Go to the bar and get your Irish coffee.
Or bring your book to the bar.
Yeah, I mean,
What did you come on vacation for?
well, it's
Why
fine.
are you here? You're here to hang out with your friends? I thought
Right.
this was supposed to be this girls' trip, and you're sitting
Right.
ordering Irish coffee,
Also, and that's
which is
I
still
like an Irish coffee as much as anybody. But
It's the first
nighttime
night,
Irish
though,
coffee,
right?
nighttime Irish coffee is weird.
This is still the first night. If the timetable is, if we're timeline is correct.
Let's call it the second night.
Let's call it night 2.
Okay.
Just because I feel like if they picked up these people the first night, dinner's the second night. I'm gonna say it's night 2.
Yeah, time's a little loosey goosey on the Love Boat.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, that was it's weird. So did Isaac deliver that just so he can deliver the line about Frank the plumber? Like, was
Yes.
Vince not?
Oh,
Vince's
you know
book?
what? Oh, maybe Isaac and Frank are boys. And it was one of those things where, like,
Broke with
Isaac
an Irish
wouldn't.
coffee.
Isaac isn't going to deliver that. It's busy. It's a Tuesday night in the bar. He's giving up tips, but Frank's like, yo, if you get a chance,
Hook me up.
put in a good word. I've seen what you've done with Roxy Blue and literally no one else. So
Brilliant.
I like that. I really wanted Frank to become more of a regular character.
So do I. Don't introduce a crew member and don't
A good crew member.
He was great.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, apparently he was huge. He was much more than
over for a few episodes. Get Frank in here.
well. He was much more than a plumber. Frank was, because he was talking later about the engine and all these other things. Like, well, everything isn't plumbing. So he's like Frank, the maintenance guy.
I think he was just wet vacuuming around the engine.
He's a poet anyway, so it doesn't even. Well, we're back to Don, like the radar in that stupid room. Don wakes up from sleeping in the bathtub, opens the door, attempts to tiptoe past the German Shepherd. Thank goodness we're going to have some advancement of this terrible storyline here. Dog becomes alert, starts barking at him to get back inside the bathroom, which he does, but not before he's able to grab the phone, urgently calling for help.
All right, so this is the next morning. Okay, so that Irish coffee was the next morning. So we probably
Irish coffee is a morning thing?
I mean, if you're an alcoholic like me, but yeah, I mean, I've had Irish coffee in the morning. Like if you go to like a brunch or something.
I see what you're saying. Interesting.
Fido has a good Irish coffee.
Oh, I bet they do. I bet they
with the
do.
cream and everything.
They have great fish and chips there. Yeah.
So that would make more sense in that the dinner is the night before. Isaac's working a terrible split shift.
Wait. But he's not
Radar. The only reason I'm basing on that is that Radar woke up in the morning.
So that was the establishment.
That's day 2.
Yeah. That's day 2. Okay.
Yeah. Did you think that the Gopher PA bit was a hat tip to Radar?
I thought so a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It kind of felt longer than any of the ones they've done.
It's usually just blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, real quick.
I'll give him that. Cool. I like that. I like that meta humor. So I'll give you that. Hounded writers.
In this next scene, when the captain's outside complaining, the biggest thing, two things actually. Number one, there's an outdoor ping pong table outdoors on a cruise ship. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Maybe it's a weighted ball.
That's what I was thinking. It's the heaviest ping pong ball. It's a lead ping pong ball.
That's why Phil Silvers took it like a shot to the gut.
Dude, no kidding. It's just a shot with like a shotgun.
It's a golf ball.
It's just, well, they're doing this whole thing. I'm like, I can suspend disbelief to a certain degree, but not to the extent that I can accept a world where you can play ping pong in an open air environment on a cruise ship screaming to Mexico.
It might be the least believable thing we've seen. Like just the physics alone.
And the pool is terrible. As someone who has recently experienced a good pool time, those pools are terrible. They're two little like 8 in like a little figure 8 almost.
And there's
like
a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the pool today.
And I don't think it's that deep either. There's nothing. There's just nothing. It's just.
No, but somebody got pushed in the pool.
I saw that. Well,
that's not. Where's the lifeguard?
Well, you can't drown in a 3-foot pool. I guess technically you could.
Look what happened to Isaac, though. You could hurt your neck.
Wow. And he somehow he hurt his neck falling in the water, which we'll never understand.
Stubby with the you can't run a ship from the Lido deck. He's
speaking truth.
This is why Stubing wants to get rid of him. He's getting called on his stuff.
He can't handle the truth. Yeah. Captain Stubing makes a run for it. The crew grabs Stubby and tries to engage him in that game of ping pong. That's the one where he basically shot him in the stomach.
He shot him with the golf ball, and
then
Isaac just crushes him with a Bloody Mary.
Just tomato juice. And as someone who is not a fan of tomatoes or tomato juice, I cannot. Oh,
yeah.
Just this.
But give Phil Silvers credit. He was like, I get it. I know what you're doing. You're either trying to kill me, or my son wants you to distract me from these things. So he took it. He took it for the spirit that it was intended.
But can't be mad at him. Was he obnoxious up to this point? Absolutely. But at the same time, couldn't his son just been like, "Hey, man, chill out."
Right.
They're not
With
young.
respect
It's
to
not like
rules, think about it,
Yeah.
Dad. If somebody on your boat did that, what would you do? You'd probably have him keeled.
keelhauled. Exactly. If anybody respects like chain of command, it should be his dad. You
Right.
just pull that card. But
Right.
instead, he's not acting very captain-like, Captain Stubing.
No. And when he
Period.
does in this episode, it goes horribly wrong.
It really, really
It
does.
was a good episode for him as a person, but not as a captain. Until the end, then it was bad for him both.
I thought it gave a little bad glimpse into what's really going on in there.
Oh,
Even
no,
when
it
he
gets so much
apologized.
worse for him. Yeah, this is
Yeah, it's
probably
just-
the end. This is the end of the good captaining.
Yeah,
So,
he
yeah.
just. Oh, a few seconds later, Gopher runs over to report that a passenger has been trapped in his cabin all night because the
So
missing guard
okay,
dog.
so
is,
let's just mark this.
yeah.
That's night 1. Okay. So he's been trapped in there one night.
Okay.
I have a feeling when we get to the end that he was trapped in that room for 8 nights.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's fantastic.
So again, burn that room down.
So Gopher, Isaac, and Julie rush over to Flanders' cabin, but are unable to get past the growling dog.
Now Julie's like, dogs aren't allowed on board. Come on, Julie. Like, a dog is missing. This person is trapped in a room.
Did
Dogs
she though?
aren't allowed on board.
I wonder if she did, or if that Gopher kept it to himself, not to cause a panic.
But they all knew.
That's
They
true.
said it on the
That's
thing.
true.
The only person who doesn't know is Isaac.
Why did they bring a bartender to go deal with a dog
It's
situation?
the
in a
same
room?
reason they bring a doctor later. They have no staff. Then the only you know who would get that dog out of there in 5 minutes?
Vince.
It's Frank.
It's- oh,
But
Frank and
he's busy.
Frank would go
contorting.
in. Frank would strangle the dog with his bare hands, write a poem about it, and Don would have like 7 days of peace and quiet in that
Of sun
crappy
and
pool.
fun.
Yeah, enjoy windy ping pong in a crappy pool.
So long, Rat Race.
See ya. Bye. Oh, that'd be perfect. God, it's funny. So we're in this scene now. Toby and Beth tease Regina about Frank being hot stuff, and this is what I found very interesting. Regina said she wouldn't know because she can't spend time with him while he's on call, as he's not allowed to mingle with passengers.
Yeah.
He's the only one on the ship that's not allowed to mingle with
So
passengers.
there's 3 ways to go about this, right? So A, Doc and Isaac are just flaunting the rules, but Doc is flaunting the rules to a level that can't be it. B, there are specific rules for specific jobs, and plumber you can't fraternize.
So it's like a caste system sort of thing.
Yeah. 3, Frank tells everybody this, and that's his like call screening, kind of like, so
It's funny.
so I think that might be the one. But yeah, we clearly know that. I mean, Doc is fraternizing right now.
Openly,
with a
as we speak,
passenger.
he's still fraternizing.
Yes.
I mean,
Doc has fraternized more than not on this boat.
absolutely.
I was thinking about
Absolutely.
it because he's on a bit of a heater now, right? So
Oh, he's
He
on
had
a
the twins.
three episode streak.
he had the twins last week. He had Patty Duke the week before.
Right.
And that failed, but he still had
But
Patty Duke.
still, he had Charo in his room.
That failed, but he had
That failed.
Charo. He had that blonde lady in the Roxy Blue episode that they didn't even mention.
Not even talk about that one.
And there's probably at least one more that we're missing.
Well, the twins alone should have killed him.
Right. That's like Doc's like Joe DiMaggio.
So, what do you do if you're Doc and you take time off? Do you go on a cruise?
Probably go to the clinic.
Like, do you just hang out where you go to work, where you work? Because
Hef-
what do you do
Hef-
on a cruise? You have drinks. You have
Grotto. That's where you go.
I would say if he goes on vacation, he's going to want to, have some drinks.
He probably wants to unwind. Like I feel like in
sit
my
on the
part-
deck.
in
play
my
some windy
party
cricket.
days,
Yeah.
I would like go on vacation and not do stuff because it was like I needed to. He's basically whatever the sexual version of drying out is doing. So,
Yeah, or maybe he just didn't think he had long to live. He's like,
I
or
mean,
they
at
were
this
oblivious
rate-
back then.
this is the ignorant 70s, but in a few years, Doc had to be very concerned.
'80s were no joke for Doc. He's a
No,
completely
I bet
different
you-
guy now.
But I bet you those 1985 episodes, Doc's not exactly the same guy. Is my
Mm-mm.
guess.
He probably does like a public service announcement.
Yeah.
I'm Bernie Couple. Although I may appear as though I'm very.
It's the Yul Brenner cigarette commercial, basically.
That's it.
but it's just
That's
Doc.
it. Don't confuse me with my character.
If I knew what I knew now, I would not have had sex with those twins.
And then.
And
got
then
with this
Toby,
woman,
who's
and
been
then
married twice.
did somebody make a comment in this that together they've been married 6
Yeah.
times?
Yeah, that's like their last. I would watch all 3 of those couples like in their own sitcoms.
I
I
thought,
thought they all had good dynamics.
I wanted more Mort.
Mort
Much more Mort.
was
He was
brilliant.
running things, man.
Where's that movie? Where's that spin-off movie? Mort and Beth.
They never give you the movies you want.
No, but here's more dog.
That's what we need. Stupid dog story. It says Toby mulls over for a few seconds. She calls the maintenance. She dropped her ring in the sink. Needs a plumber ASAP.
Yep.
She and Becky cacklingly scamper off. Ugh. Stubby. Okay, this is I don't know if you want to
This
tackle
turns
this.
into a
or-
whole different show now.
Yeah,
Like
I feel like
halfway
it's
through,
a-
we're just like, oh, here's a new thing.
different dimension completely.
Right.
He enters the kitchen where there's a kitchen worker that I would label as cantankerous.
She's a real spitfire.
She is a spitfire. PNV. She kind of barks them the areas off limits to passengers. He needs to scram. But he just needed some sea salt to clean his stained shirt, which what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's what, a nature stain remover? What
Yeah.
how do you clean something with salt? What are you talking about?
Any seaman worth their salt knows that it is. I think he called it nature's cleaner. So
I will say this. It just made me think of it. When I worked at Quick Check back in the day for a very dirty coffee pot, that you would put salt and you would put ice in there. And you would jiggle that sucker around and it would take the stain out. So that's the only parallel as far as salt.
Quick
But-
Check was the
I learned a lot of
convenience
life
store
lessons.
of New Jersey.
yeah, beautiful place. I need some sea salt to clean my shirt. Like, who else but this guy would say that? Like, that's the most ridiculous thing to say.
Also,
did-
you know what? He wears like 50 outfits in this. In
He
this show.
does.
Like he go change your shirt, and then go.
they gotta have laundry service on this boat. Go put it outside Radar's room. The cleaners go throw it at the dog.
Go throw it at the dog or go look in that linen closet. You might find a big
There's
old
gotta
red
be
wig in
something
there. There's something in there you might be able to wear.
But this scene really goes from like the Lockhorns. There
Mhm.
are Lockhorns of the week, and then it turns into like a sad, like AARP commercial,
Absolutely.
or like some sort of like ageism video that you'd watch at work,
Well, the phrase mandatory retirement was
right?
thrown out.
And just out of nowhere, like she. All right, I've bested you in the zingers. Now let's get back to reality, where I'm old and I'm being forced out of the job I love so much.
Well, he warns her that her sassy attitude could get her fired. And that's when she's like,
Yeah,
mandatory
More
retirement.
like my birth certificate.
Here's a weird thing. So after she introduces herself as PJ Muldoon, she warns him not to get any fresh ideas about the PJ part of her name.
Yep.
What?
Because they're older. They're from a different generation. You shouldn't be thinking about a woman that you're not married to in their pajamas.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
You didn't think about PJs being pajamas?
No, but like not PJ singular as her name. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm thinking what? It's not like it, I really didn't see it. I had no idea what that meant.
No. There you go.
Well, there we go. Wow,
That's another
joke's
one.
on me.
Man, you're not even picking up flirting from the 70-year-old woman
Not-
who's being forced to retire. It's just
Wow.
getting worse and worse.
Just the girl dumbness continues. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Stubby grins and says he can call her by his nickname, Stubby. No story, no explanation, no just
No, lazy.
Stubby.
It's just lazy. Plus,
It
if you're a
is.
captain, ain't nobody calling you Stubby.
You better call me Captain.
Yeah, you
Shoot.
better call me Captain,
Call me
sir.
Stubby. You must be crazy, PJ.
So, the mandatory retirement thing.
Yeah.
The nameless chef, way older than PJ Muldoon, right? Has to be. He looked way older.
I think so. Just for the sake of then I would say at least, yeah, older. I don't know how much
Yeah.
older, but definitely, I'd
So
say at
here-
least 5
another-
years, 10 years older. Something
Another
like that.
one of these inconsistent rules.
Oh, why the chef? But was the chef maybe was the chef a mandatory retirement? Is that
But
what you're
that's what I'm
saying?
saying.
Maybe if you're a
You
chef,
think
it's
he's
different.
dead. So, but the chef that comes in later to test the soup is not the same chef.
No, it's not. No, it's
So
not.
maybe he did get mandatory retired. Maybe they're just like wiping these people off. It's like Soylent Green.
What are you feeding me?
Oh no. They're making these people retire and then they're eating them.
I told you when they start feeding you ice cream, you know what's going on.
That's right.
You know
Thank
what's
God
up.
PJ got off this boat alive.
Oh, please. Frank is unable to find Regina's lost ring in the drain. Notices she's wearing the ring in question. She apologizes for the false alarm. He goes to leave, but notices her Lord Byron book. He tells her that Byron is his favorite and that he dabbles in writing poetry from time to time.
Now begins the Hallmark movie that
Here
this
we
is.
go. Here we
This
go.
whole storyline is a Hallmark movie. And this is how it starts because it's like he's a plumber, but I'm also a poet. And you know, your little ruse didn't work. But
Mm-mm.
I'm going to be really vague and cagey about being on the deck at a certain time. I'm not going to give you any information. But if
Nothing.
you happen to be there, we'll have
He
some
said,
sort of
maybe.
some sort of association.
Maybe.
Which
Big
makes me
shit.
think it's his rule. Because it's not like he's saying that stuff. Like you could accidentally meet somebody, but actually not accidentally meet them.
Sure.
If he's worried
sure.
about getting in trouble, he would just say, I'm going to be walking out of this door at 10 o'clock. If you run into me, that way we're not.
Right. I see what you're saying.
So it's clearly his rule, and he's just doing like a Bronx Tale litmus test to see if she's
Votive.
interested. Yeah.
Or he's trying to be that, maybe not that white knight, but not that white knight either. Like, I hold myself to a higher. All right.
Do you think that cruise plumber is the best plumber job or the worst plumber job?
The worst? If you need a plumber on a boat, it's not a small problem. I've heard
But you're on-
horror stories
but you're on
of
a
backing
cruise.
up. And
But you're on a cruise.
here's the thing: it's not just the plumbing; it's what goes hand in hand with the plumbing, like food poisoning, seasickness. You're dealing with a lot of vomit, a lot of just bad stuff that you don't want to deal with.
Like
in my
a
opinion.
stray whale
Stray whale,
gets in the
porpoise.
tailpipe or something.
Well, apparently Frank is not just a plumber, the way they describe him, but just plumbing wise.
So you think it's a bad job because despite being on a cruise, the actual plumbing itself is pretty bad.
Absolutely. It can't be great. It can't be, unless you're just, unless it's one straight tube, you're just dumping it in the ocean. It is the 70s. Do you really need a plumber?
I
It's like,
wonder.
junk's going in the water.
I mean, he said the first thing he had to fix was pretty easy. The second thing was a ruse.
Yeah.
He was just mopping up around Stubing's father in the engine room.
He went to go fix a sink with a screwdriver. What kind of problem do you fix a sink with a screw? Yeah, stabbing the ice or moving this thing. What? You didn't even give me a plunger. But there's no drink called the plunger.
Right. He's been
If
doing this
only.
for 7 years. He must like it. Or he's an indentured servant.
How come he doesn't have to wear a more uniform?
That is interesting. You're right. That they're not even like work overalls.
No.
Everybody else that's worked on the boat has had some sort of uniform.
And
Even the
we've
sea
seen
guy wears the whites.
by the end of the show, we see Frank in like jeans and a shirt. By the way, the
Hey.
jeans pulled up uncomfortably high.
After this scene, we see Frank in a lot less.
No kidding. No kidding. Thank you.
He got
It's
over
just-
his rule real fast.
So they meet. She meets up with Frank. He pulls out a piece of paper from his pocket. It's one of his poems. I wish I would have written the poem down.
I started to, but
Ugh.
the long of it is that, of course, the plumber who's a poet has to write a poem about being a plumber.
And a poet.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's real.
This is all I know about my character.
Yeah,
So
way
I'm
to
gonna
get
write
outside of
this
your
poem. Like,
box
give
a
me a
little
third
bit.
thing, Frank.
Boat. It'd be a boat, ship, water. It'll be something stupid like that. It just
I think you're pretty.
well, and the fact is, like he kept it like in his jacket pocket. Like you're gonna pick out this little tiny piece of paper. You have a poem written on a little piece of paper. Like I don't know, whatever. It
Well,
just
I
was-
mean, maybe he doesn't have a. Oh, well, he probably didn't
He
want to carry
couldn't-
his whole poetry book.
he couldn't memorize that short ass poem.
Yeah,
It
but you
only
gotta
had
prove
like
you
4
did it.
lines. Like, what are you doing? You need to
Yeah,
write
but
that
if he
down.
memorized it, then she wouldn't have taken it, and he wouldn't have gotten that dance, and he wouldn't have gotten that business. Frank's playing
No.
3D chess here.
No, but he could have written it down later and given it to her with his number.
I
and
think
been
he
like,
wrote
"Frank."
it out of his poetry book because
Oh,
don't
that's
forget,
not
there's not a Xerox machine.
And that's not a Frank original. Let's be honest. This
Maybe
guy's
somebody else wrote that
plagiarizing at
stupid
best.
poem.
Sure, that's what happens later on in the Hallmark movie. You think everything's cool, everything blah blah blah, but she finds out that he just plagiarized those poems.
What if it's a Tennyson? What if it's like an obscure Tennyson poem?
He just doesn't. Frank just doesn't. Good for you, Frank. I guess.
Yeah.
And they dance. So he asked if she can keep it. He says yes if she's willing to pay the price. What dance? So, and they start swaying together and staring at each other with no music. Hallmark moment, Hallmark movie moment, right there. Like,
Because I guess they can't go into the dance hall because of the fraternizing rule that isn't really a thing.
Frank doesn't play.
Doc's got his tongue in Toby's ear, probably.
Well, imagine if he would have walked into that dining room or in that disco or whatever, what would have happened. The captain would have saw him. He would have been like, "Get out of here!" You lower,
you're below
lower
deck.
stock, get below deck. You can eat my leftovers. You can dance in a room adjacent to mine, so you don't hear the music firsthand. Just a deep, awful. So then we see Beth is awkwardly dancing with a much shorter Morton. So happy about this.
Yep.
Asks if he could kiss her. He just is gushing about how amazed and he's amazed he's going to have action.
Absolute classic.
Oh, it's a Banaka. I waited for it to spray it in her face, but there was no. Morton knows what he's doing.
It's just absolutely perfect. Just absolutely perfect.
Did you used to Banaka back in the day? It was kind of a thing for a
I
bit.
don't think so. I don't think I did. Chloroseptic.
I remember it was a little different. I remember the Banaka, if you were to spray it under your tongue, that was a mistake, sir. That was a mistake. It really hurt. But I remember it. It was kind of cool. It
My
kind of
breath
hurt
smelled
if
like
you did too
roses.
many. It was it was a thing.
I think we moved around a little bit, but
Yeah.
so the second run to go save Radar is Gopher and Isaac
I
go.
apologize. Yep.
And so which one's this?
This is the second attempt.
So they throw in the meat?
It's just Gopher and Isaac. This is the first meat attempt.
Okay, so they throw the meat in and the dog like pulls the stick back. It's just high comedy. This is like a silent movie.
I love these guys together like this kind of thing.
It's just goofy.
Yeah,
right?
not only did the dog instantly eat the giant steak, but the dog also ate
the pole.
the pole. Okay. So wait. So the idea was to distract the dog with a steak on a stick?
Yeah. Well, basically, I think they were trying to be like, okay, we're gonna put the stick over here. Radar, you run over here.
Well,
That
they
was
just
what was
open the door and
communicated.
throw the steak out in the hallway and let that
But
dog go
again,
run.
there's got to be. This goes back to our whole
Nothing.
thing about there not being some sort of officer of security on this boat. But there's got to be somebody who's better at this stuff.
Well, just like a director of operations or something, just to like
It's
somebody
not
to
the
like
bartender.
put these fires out.
It's not your two goofy friends from work trying to do this. You know.
Well, again, why is the bartender involved?
What if this was a room with a child in it?
I think we're going to do the exact same thing. Mike.
There's a lack of urgency here.
I mean, they're like, it is what it is. You know, we can't go in there. We can't go in. They should have made the dog much scarier. They should have done like a Cujo kind of thing. Make that dog terrifying. Just
there should have been a Mrs. Flanders.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. I did jump around. I apologize.
We missed that hot date, that first hot date between PJ and Stubby.
We're not there yet.
So the right after this is the next thing we see after they've been flirting. They're sitting in there and they're playing gin and they're drinking gin, and then they're gonna peel some potatoes. And that's how you date. That's how you date when you're 70 years old.
And on a ship.
Yeah.
You're helping. You're enjoying someone else's company.
I'll tell you one thing. Me and gin, I would be afraid to peel those potatoes after a couple of gins. I'd lose a finger. They'd call me Stubby for a different reason.
That's funny. So after that scene we talked about with the much shorter Morton, we see we see Stubby and PJ emerge
from
the ship's movie theater.
How about that?
What?
So do you think it's a movie theater, or do you think it's like they roll a big screen into the ballroom or something like that?
Maybe that's what they do during the. Well, no, because maybe it's movies during the day, just to use that room. Because I'm assuming there has to. Do we ever see lunch or breakfast in this ship, or do we?
The only morning kind of stuff we've seen was like Isaac opened the bar at noon that one time, and then you would assume when they're outside in the daylight that's early,
right?
But no, as far as like a sit down lunch, no, nobody's having lunch.
That's what I'm thinking. So maybe
that's liquid lunch. That lady had the soup and she put her beer in it. That's like the most lunch we've seen.
That is true. They do have egg whites in their drinks. The next morning, here we go. You're right about this. Frank's shirtless.
Yep.
Coming out of it. Regina tells Regina, who spent the night in his cabin, how amazingly coincidental it is that they happen to meet. So you know what's happening. You already know.
There we go. That's your first Hallmark thing. There'd be just a little bit of like there's the only scene that's missing is like, oh man, I really feel like I should tell him, but what's the harm in not telling him? He'll never find out.
Not now.
Right.
It's not the right time.
Right.
Said he's never fallen for a passenger before. He said he's not into the idea of reporting to work today. And then they just kiss forever.
Sorry about your running faucet.
Man. Like just silence, like little music, actually a little music playing, and just smooching for must have been 23 minutes of runtime. It was crazy. We're back to the dog thing again here, Mike. Doc's involved now, as you mentioned earlier. Doc, Isaac, they're all in it. Okay. This is so dumb.
They load up this steak with tranquilizer.
Right. Flavorless, apparently.
Right. And they make sure to say it's not going to harm the dog. But they don't tell Radar the plan. They're not like, hey,
the steak's not for you.
It's not for you. We're going to knock
Don't eat the steak
out.
with pills
just walk out of the room. They just kind of assume it'll work like this. Okay, the dog doesn't want a steak. The dog just had a steak.
Let's say this, right? So the steak is in there. Radar gets the steak, pulls it in the bathroom. There's no silverware. So this dude's just ripping through like steak that with just a bunch of pills pressed into it. It's not going to taste awful.
And he ate it relatively fast.
It just
too.
ate like just a chunk of.
Yeah,
right.
right. He's
Okay.
just, well, to be fair, he hasn't eaten in like 4 days.
No,
So-
you're right. You're right. Well, the other thing is when he gets woozy and passes out, he didn't hurt himself at all after all those
He had a lot of pillows
tranquilizers.
in the
He
tub.
fell perfectly into a hard
How
bathtub,
did he get all those
exactly in the.
pillows?
You don't keep spare pillows in the bathroom. You don't.
Do they?
I wouldn't think well, maybe.
I mean, maybe if room, maybe they
Owls,
have one of those
but-
shelves. Okay, I'll plead ignorant on that one.
yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
a stretch, but it would be funny if he
Uh,
like he's like, "Oh, excuse me, dog. Let me get these pillows so I can run back in."
Ugh. Yeah, that would be. Or
That
maybe
was stupid. This whole thing is stupid.
it's just dumb. It's just.
At
dumb.
what point? At what point do you have the conversation about just opening the door and
That's
just
what I'm
seeing
saying.
where the dog goes?
Where's the security guy that handles the dog? Because I'm
He's-
sure the
no,
dog just
he's-
doesn't.
No, see,
walk
I
around.
originally thought that was something, but I
think he's offshore.
I think they're like, it's like TSA doesn't get on the plane, right? So I think it's that. But I am
So they-
surprised that they let the boat go.
Yeah, they knowingly left this dog on a boat, and they were like, "We'll see you in 10 days." Wait, what?
Unless they were like, or maybe he's somewhere else.
They
But
wouldn't try to handle
basically
that
chalked up-
situation.
They chalked up that dog to being in the water. Like they were
Yeah.
just-
Yeah, he always loved water.
like
It's
there's
a shame.
a dog police vest floating sadly.
R.I.P. Just like what's his name's hat.
R.I.P.
They
mother.
fell for it. Oh, that's funny. Stubby drops by the kitchen to visit PJ, and he's saying that how gorgeous she looks with the yellow flower in her hair. She says how bad she is at taking compliments, especially from men who she's becoming hopelessly smitten.
Did you
All
see the
right.
chef come and taste the soup?
I wanted to better look at him to see if it was they
Not our
messed up.
boy.
No,
Not our guy.
it's a
He
shame.
clearly didn't get paid to talk because he just goes that. But like this kitchen is very sparsely staffed. But the chef has enough time to come taste your onion broth or whatever.
Whatever that clear is, was that what Radar was eating? Like feet, like going crazy. You're so I'm so hungry. What's on the menu? Brown water and some rolls. I'm starving. Just
all I've had was that drug steak.
I had tranquilizer steak. I haven't had a glass of water in days. Can I have the saltiest brown liquid that's hot and bread
Please.
rolls?
Please don't sue the Princess Cruise Line.
Yeah, and he didn't even have his own.
Incorporated.
He should have had a smorgasbord of food. Like, our deepest apologies, Mr. O'Reilly.
They really they give him a free ticket at
Nothing.
the end, but they didn't really he should have been more mad. Julie was right. He should have been more mad. They should have had a tranquilizer for him.
Well, they waited till right before the credits to give him this.
Free
Here you
ticket.
go.
Plus, by the way, I'm not getting back on your boat. Get me a free ticket to another cruise line. Thank you.
No, can I get it in writing? I'm not going to be stuck with a dog in a room. And
With your
somehow this dog,
incompetent staff.
there's no mess in this room. I don't know how you did it. How did housekeeping come in and clean up after the dog every single day?
but let him stay.
But let him stay. Like, what? Oh, man. It doesn't make any
So
sense.
stupid.
It's just, all right. Yeah,
You're
Julie
all over the
says,
place.
Captain Steubing at Don in Flanders is going to be furious about being trapped in his cabin. Captain Steubing just kind of just like, you tell her that.
Kinda. He's like, all right, we're gonna have a guy in Mazatlan
Yeah.
shoot this dog. It's like,
Yeah.
it'll be fine. But again, that's another day. We're easily up to 5 or 6
It's
days.
just, well, it's so weird because Julie apologizes for the predicament Don is in, which is a very weird apology. Like, what? And Captain says it's not her fault.
So
Yeah,
do
no
you think
shit.
that's
It's not her
Julie's?
fault. It's not her dog. It's not her tranquilizer steak. It's not any of these things.
But if you go back to our my theory at least, that
Yeah.
Gopher works for Julie, maybe it's under Julie's purview, since there is not a security officer. I don't know. I mean,
She's
these ideas
so
have,
many
to be
hats on
fair,
this
these
damn ship.
ideas have sucked, and these are the ideas we've seen. Like, why
Well,
is
how many-
Gopher not trying to like go through the drop ceiling or something?
Why would you wait till the second stop in Mexico to get somebody to handle the dog?
There are 600 people on this boat, and there were a bunch of kids horsing around at the pool. You tell me you give those kids like a $20 bar coupon, they won't go fight that dog? We're just not
Well,
trying.
No,
here.
think about it. Radar's not that big of a gentleman. Like theoretically, you have a man locked in a room with an attack dog for multiple days, and they're just like, well, and they've known about it since he got on the ship, basically.
Yeah.
What?
It's just like this. They shouldn't be having conversations about anything else. This really should be the topic.
Right.
They really do end up treating the more serious cases the most frivolously. Like when the two people jumped off the boat, they just gave them some cocoa.
They didn't even stop the boat, really. They
No.
didn't slow down.
No, but the stowaway, my God, call the authority.
Well, I was just thinking about this too. It's interesting. So couldn't they just have like said, everyone go to your rooms and stay in your rooms till we deal with this dog situation over the PA and open the door?
Yeah, but then where's the dog going to stay the rest
I
of the
mean, you
trip?
can
Doc's
sit,
office.
and then Radar's gonna have nothing to do.
Yeah, it's
Well,
true.
there's my storyline.
But yes, you could have done that.
Absolutely.
Put him in
Put him in
in
Doc's
PJ's.
office.
Put him in PJ's room or
PJ.
Stubby's room. They're not using it, those freaks.
It's true. That is true.
Actually, the girls aren't using their rooms either.
No, I don't even know
Wonder
where
Woman.
they were. Well, we know where they were with Morton.
Yeah, Toby's room is very available.
Yeah. Julie says she can't take credit. Bobo, she thanks crediting her with keeping his dad away from him. Julie says she can't take credit for it because Stubby's been keeping company with a new lady friend he's invited to dine at the captain's table this evening. So that's one captain's table.
Right.
There's so much crap in this episode. If I just want to say it, it's just like,
Well, it's funny when I watched
boom,
it,
so much.
when I watched it the first time, I thought, man, there's a lot in this. And I kind of chalked it up to the fact that there's only like two real storylines and the dog thing just feels like tacked on.
Yeah.
But then when I rewatched, I was like, there's a lot of padding in this. Like, there's a lot of padding shots. There's a lot of like exterior shoots and stuff. And then there's just a lot of like unnecessary nonsense. Like, they gave no indication in the first 3 acts of this thing that Stubing's dad was lovelorn and lonely.
Right.
Like, they never said, yeah, my dad, he thinks he's still a captain because he's got nothing at home or something. They never.
Yeah, since
they
my
never did
mom,
that.
since
Right.
mom passed,
Right.
Or
So it's
paint
like
us a
all
picture
this,
here.
as soon as he hears about, the possible romance, like he gets all excited, like it's Parent Trap or something. And
What, just simply to get him out of his hair or lack thereof?
right, don't say it. But it's just like they could have thrown in 3 lines to make that a little more earned, but it went from, no, these are just 2 old people enjoying each other's company to, oh my God, thank God my lonely father will finally find love again.
Yeah, I think a little more flavor on that story would have gone a long way. Just
Yeah.
a little
more
or
sea
even-
salt. A little more
is it
sea
be-
salt in the storyline.
because that'll get everything out.
Yeah,
Dang, sea salt.
it's every seaman knows it's
Every
nature's
seaman
own
knows
thing.
it's sea salt. Later, Stubby enters the dining room with PJ on his arm. He steers her over to the captain's table, and Captain Stubing is just like, "What's this shit?" Pardon my French. Who is
This is
it?
Downtown Abbey, right? This is basically
I think it's
upstairs,
Downton.
downstairs.
It's Downton Abbey.
Yeah, Downtown Abbey.
No, oh, Downtown Abbey. That's
Yeah,
the
Downtown
same.
Abbey.
Downtown Abbey. This is
Yeah.
just like Downtown Abbey. Kitchen staff do not eat in the dining room.
What is that? Like, I will say this.
It's
I think so
character,
far it's
man.
consistently true.
Yeah.
But
agree.
that's because this is a very understaffed boat. But like, what the hell, Stubing? My God.
Yeah, that was a really weird, like,
That was episode 1, Captain Stubing.
but
Like
in
a
a
stickler
bad
for the
way.
rules and
Don't you think he
yeah.
would have pulled her aside and said something instead of just
she's
embarrassing her?
leaving. She's leaving
She's
in like a
retiring,
day.
bro.
And it's your dad's girlfriend.
It-
That was
It was, yeah,
that
it
did
just
not
made
come
me
off
uncomfortable,
well.
man. Made me uncomfortable because now, I'm at the point now where I'm not really a fan of him
Yeah.
as a character. I'm not. He's just inconsistent. He
I
doesn't, like,
thought they were doing good work with him this week, and they really just kind of the second half of the episode, it just goes down a whole nother path.
well, they take him, he loses his seat at the head of the table. He's kowtowing to his father, which again, I get like a respect, but like it's like over the top comical.
Yeah.
You're undercutting. And from, episodes before where he falls into the boat, like these things, they keep undercutting his character. And I do hold out hope that he's going to be this like wise sage. But right now he is
No,
neither.
This was a level of like petulant arrogance that
I was
you didn't see the
uncomfortable.
whole episode before this. And again, your father is a captain and probably, I don't know, would at least know that you're probably full of crap, saying that. So
It was just awful. I really just did not like that at all. So Stubby says in that case, he and his new girlfriend will enjoy dinner in the privacy of their cabin. Again, this is why I'm a Stubby fan. Best character.
yeah, he's
favorite.
not going to sit there and
He didn't
make
play that crap.
for an awkward dinner.
But look at that right now, right? We talked about not a similar, but another situation where Stubby walked on Captain Stubing by taking that seat at the end. Much like that situation where he was like, "No, I'm Stubby. I'm gonna sit here, and no, you're not gonna say that to her. Bye. I'll go eat in my room. I don't care." He's got pride.
Yeah.
I feel like
No,
that
that's why we
Captain
won the war.
Stubing's not. Oh, he's great. He's
Yeah,
great.
and then Stubing, I guess, feels bad immediately, but kind of just
It wasn't
mopes.
real. It
He just
wasn't real.
mopes.
I think he was more like, well, I didn't get to have them at my table because now he has 2 open seats at his table, and
Which has
he's
got to
not
be super embarrassing.
losing his mind.
Can you imagine if you're like, every week there's an empty seat at that captain's table?
Somebody's always leaving early. Yeah, somebody's always pissed off and leaving that table early.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
Full of drama table. Oh God, this is such a funny scene to me. Beth and Toby are above deck discussing the imminent dumping of the men they picked up during the cruise. Again, the romance roulette game they were playing. They agree that Regina got in the swing of the romance roulette with the ship's plumber, but they hope that she finds like a nice way to let him down easy to dump him. Here's where it gets weird. Frank apparently likes to lurk in the shadows. And you can say he was there to light his pipe. He wasn't lighting his pipe. He was standing there lurking in the shadows for like maybe hours, just sitting.
Well, he was.
Is that what he does on deck?
Ostensibly, he was meeting Jane Curtin, but yeah, that was odd because I think at first I assumed he was working, but then when he came out in like regular clothes and stuff, it was like, yeah, he's not working.
Like, whoa, what are you doing, dude?
But here's the thing: as a longtime watcher of the Hallmark Christmas movies, this is what happens at the second to last act.
Was this the misunderstanding?
Right about the 15 minutes left in the movie, Mark. This is the misunderstanding. Usually it's even more convoluted than this. Usually it's something that could be solved in like a 4-second conversation. But this is what happens. This is what happens at 9:44 at night when you're watching a new Hallmark movie. And then, man, you just hope those kids get together at the end.
Well, it does remind me of that one that we watched actually years ago. It's the only one I've ever watched the entire one. It was about a Christmas tree farm,
Yes.
and it was the same thing. It was 944
Yep.
misunderstanding.
Exactly. And that's what it is. So it really was like, and they did a really good job of cleaning it up pretty fast, but ultimately it was just something that, the key to any romance, especially a romance that seems star-crossed, but also, love at first sight, is don't listen to anything that you hear from anybody else or any misunderstanding. Just assume it's a misunderstanding.
It's all going to be out of context.
Exactly. And it'll be fine at the end. So.
It's not really out of context, but it kind of is. That's why
it was very in context. Actually, they gave a very specific amount of details,
just to be like, let's see. So Gina comes up, and he's sort of like staring into space, like despondently.
I thought he was going to jump off the boat. He looked so upset.
I thought the same thing.
He blew that match out.
He was going to have like a poem, and they would think it was going to be a note already written in his jacket because he had a new one. Ugh.
But instead he says, "Fun is fun, but now it's done. Stick that in your scrapbook." Frank is great.
And just based on that response, that guy's not an award-winning poet. Like everything is it's doctored, everything rhymes, and it's great. No rhythmic pentameter going on in that guy's room. But give me 1 second here. Okay, so now we're at Captain Stubing drops by his dad's cabin. This is what gets
apologize, but he does an awful job of apologizing.
But he says sorry, but then he's like, "But why couldn't you have found somebody more suitable?" I'm like, "Wait, you just apologize."
And also, why do you care? You're never going to see these people.
Weird, man. It's so like
that's weird.
That's where you make your stand.
Yeah, and like you said, mid apology, you're coming back. I'm sorry, but
he didn't come in there to apologize. He I don't know what he came in there to do, but that's just
and your boy Stubby just like kicks him out. Basically,
he tells him, "Yeah,
hit the bricks."
And then he's saying stubbornly, Stubby's saying he's going to marry her with or without his blessing. And people are in a rush to get married on this boat. Something happens.
People are old. At least that makes sense.
I give him that. You're absolutely right on that. Captain Stubing storms out. PJ, who was eavesdropping, a lot of lurking.
Was she like hiding in a curtain?
She's hiding in the curtain.
She just is like, that can't be like a separate room.
She was like behind a giant curtain. Like it was a great place to hide because no one can see your feet. She just came out. It was so weird.
Plus, Stubing wasn't going to look around.
Well, she came out hot. She's like, maybe the captain's right, and her lowly status as a kitchen worker, and he should find somebody else. You're like, oh my god. Again, classic misunderstanding here. We're at that 944 Hallmark thing.
Yeah, this is like heavy plot. I'm waiting for Candace Cameron Bure to show up on a commercial.
Oh, that's a good one. Who was the girl on the Wonder Years? Not the Wonder Years.
Annika McKellar. She's always in these.
Yes, she's always. No, not that. Party of Five. The little short girl.
Lacey Chabert.
Dude, she was in like 4 hours of like mystery shows.
You realize if this podcast really takes off that we're going to end up doing a Hallmark one because I know my wife wants to do one. So,
I mean, we have to do what we have to do.
Right.
I mean,
right in. Demand it on this podcast network.
I mean, it's what you guys branching out. Animal control experts finally here. Okay. After days of being stuck in a room with a German Shepherd, we're finally going to.
It's awesome. They should hire this guy to be the boat security. Sir, pack your bags. You're coming with us. He is just like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot this dog.
I'm going to shoot this dog with this deadly looking long weapon.
Also, everybody stand really close to the door.
Yeah, everyone crowd the door because it's easy to just crack a door and shoot something.
A little dicier.
Yeah, nothing like hitting a moving target. Yeah, through the crack of a door with gopher under one arm and Isaac on another.
Julie just got shot in the face with a cork last week. Why?
That's right. They should be a little more careful.
Tranquilizer gun.
That's funny. That is funny. I kind of wish she would have had that eye patch rolling into the next episode, but
And shouldn't Doc? It's important that Doc was there. He should have been there with medical supplies. This man is dehydrated. He may have rabies. God knows what those drugs did to him.
well, apparently, in all the commotion, the male dog that was in the room 7 minutes and 30 seconds is the timestamp to see that it is a male dog. Apparently, the male dog has had puppies. Not only has the male dog had puppies, the bed is still made. There's not one mess anywhere. The puppies are completely like not puppy wet. They're all dry.
Yeah, I mean that room would just be
Done.
I never
Just-
had a dog.
Room would smell so
I've
bad.
never had a dog, but I know many people who've had dogs, and I've watched dogs, and I know that you can't like go more than a few hours without letting them outside. You definitely can't let them go 7 days
With no water,
with no water, no food.
and no one can see that this
They had
dog.
that one steak. The dog had the one steak.
What kind of security company is going to have an obviously pregnant dog out there patrolling anything? That's awful. Where's
Plus, Radar, if you somehow hear this dog having babies, that's your chance to run. You can come back later. But like I don't think Radar wanted to get out of that room. I think Donald Flanders is a lonely, lonely man.
I think this is exactly what Donald Flanders needed.
Yes. Donald
So-
Flanders somehow cut the leash on the security dog in line and got that dog on the boat.
Just amazing. The fact that it's a male dog, and then the male dog had puppies. The fact that the puppies are bone dry, because they were just born. That's how they come out. They come out dry and fluffy. It did just again. I can suspend disbelief so much, but this was terrible. This was absolutely terrible. This whole storyline.
And you know what? I ain't naming the dogs after all you people, especially because I don't even know who held it. Who
You
half the
didn't
people
do
are.
anything. You left
You
me
never
stranded
met
in a
Isaac or
damn.
Doc.
Oh, look, this one's you. How do you
Yeah.
know anybody's names?
Yeah, you know all these dogs are named litigation because that's what's coming to your company.
You thought Julie's name was fun. Stupid. It's just so stupid. Yeah, I wrote the newly delivered puppies, and I'm writing like WTF. It's a male dog. Like, hello. Oh. So
I like
wait,
how mad
hold
the
on, hold on.
SPCA guy was though when he couldn't shoot somebody. He was
Well-
so mad.
So Radar can't tell the difference between Radar will eat a steak full of like barbiturates
Yes.
because he doesn't know any better, but somehow he can successfully help a dog deliver perfectly clean puppies in a perfectly clean room. I just stop it.
And you can't wash them off in the tub. You got your bedding in there.
There'd be crap everywhere. It's not a
that
clean
room-
process.
That room would not look like
It'd be
that.
there'd be poop and pee and puppy baby whatever.
I mean, just a normal hotel room after 7 days of not
Right. And there's no
Clean up.
window.
would be- yeah.
So you know it's smelling in there.
Oh, God. Don't stay in at Fiesta Deck 131 on the
No,
little boat.
stay out of that room. And I bet you so that room smells like German Shepherd puppies and body odor, and then the elevator smells like sausage. So,
So
heads up.
Put that in your schematic.
Beth and Toby storm into Frank's cabin to talk to him about or to admonish him for breaking Regina's heart. And he's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just beating her to the punch. I heard y'all."
Frank's like,
Shoot.
"Put the bricks."
Yeah, like, what? Shut up, ladies. What are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure that's Roxy Blue's room. The curtains look the same. I think
Look
it's
at that
Roxy
thing with the
Blue's room.
layout.
So that room has
Sweet
seen
room.
action.
Isaac's been hit. That's why he brought the Irish coffee. He brought it down just to see if Roxy Blue is in that room.
Like she's
Are
been
you?
on the
Oh
boat.
no, you can have it, girl. It's cool. Frank's on duty. So Regina bursts into the room and she's like, "Well," and they're telling him, "Oh, she really, really likes you." He's like, "Hit the bricks."
Yep.
Regina bursts in, looking annoyed. Her her friends have kind of taken it upon themselves to reach out to Frank. She kicks him out of the room, apologized to Frank for their behavior. She stopped in to say goodbye.
But there's no goodbye, baby.
No goodbye, baby. I
Nope.
noticed you haven't said goodbye yet.
Yep. And that's your
So
Hallmark movie.
there it
basically.
is. Smooches. I love you. How cute. He says how cute it is that an English professor is speechless. And the two agree that truth is far more awesome than non-truth.
Playing games.
Now, at this point, right? Okay, if I'm not mistaken, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're wrapping it up, right? Right away. No. There's more because the
there's a lot
dog
more.
thing has been wrapped up. This story essentially has been sort of wrapped up, except for like a final piece.
Right.
So really, now we're just kind of following
The Stubes.
the stubs. So let's see. Captain Stubing asked Julie if she happens to know where her dad is.
This was as close as Julie came to telling the captain to piss off. She was
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah. She was saying that PJ dumped him and they're both miserable as a result. Captain Stubing looks troubled. Now you're troubled? Don't believe it. Don't believe it. He's going to undercut his own sad looking
apology?
face. Yeah, he's just, come on, man. Asked her to please ensure. I've got a plan to ensure that his dad is invited to dine at his table this evening. Third time his dad's being invited to dinner.
Nobody looks happy to be at that table.
No.
Radar's just this is all Radar gets.
They get brown liquid and rolls.
And to sit at this sad ass captain's table.
And just mowing down some,
Right.
I don't even know what that it looked like.
Let's get
Bouillon.
Radar upgrade suite. Let's get Radar his own table, maybe.
Maybe get him a steak that isn't have full of drugs.
Oh, he's never eaten steak again.
No,
Or he's hooked on tranquilizer steak.
That's what it is. Well, Doc just gives him a to-go bag.
Yeah.
That's funny. This is so during dinner, dejected looking Stubby. Here comes PJ in a pink dress. And Captain Stubing, he's a jerk, man. He's pulling all the strings here. Like, she's saluted by Captain Stubing for her many years of service. So he couldn't do this yesterday.
Right.
Like all of a sudden now she's worthy of.
He's very he plays to the crowd. It's like
he's very disingenuous.
The best character is what you do when people aren't watching.
Ooh, that's integrity. Isn't that integrity?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds like integrity. She happily tells him that she'd be delighted to become. Well, wait. Doesn't the captain say, "Oh, I'd love for you to be my step"? Like he kind of made it about himself.
Yes.
I would love for you to be my
right.
Like instead of I'm so happy for you.
And what's the age limit on you thinking of yourself as a step parent?
Well, how much younger could he be?
47 years old.
Right.
And plus, I don't like you. I don't like you at all.
Well, it's not even like it. He can't even open his mind to like because she's just of lower stock. So it's not even like or not like. It's just like I can't even.
Maybe she'll move up now, but she's not. She actually won't be lower deck now.
Well, no, because she doesn't work there.
Right. Now you're just unemployed.
She'll be a former captain's wife.
Yes.
So that gives her a little prestige right there.
Status. That's real status.
Yeah. Interesting.
Phil Silvers does a little bit of a bit at the end.
Yeah.
He's just kind of you should have seen him when he was a younger boy. He just is so much, it's a lot of that. So.
Oh boy, that is good. That was a good. Your impression of him is fantastic. By the way, I do appreciate a good impression.
Shame he's never gonna be on again. I can't ever use it.
Doc tells Toby, and he heard about the whole code word screwdriver dating game. And his question was, well, what would happen if I said Harvey Waldbanger?
Which is totally what he did to her earlier, probably.
Oh, definitely. A lot of Harvey Waldbanging going on by Doc this episode.
Zero. These guys both knew the score, did exactly what they were supposed to do, went about their day. It was perfect.
I mean, if it wasn't her, it was just going to be somebody else.
That's a good point. At least she was
I
a willing
mean,
participant. This is the most
right.
willing participant Doc has been involved
Absolutely.
with.
Absolutely. Then we see Beth and Morton. I love this. I love the confidence that Morton has
So good.
now. He's just like
He
bags.
took over.
He's running
And
things.
she's like in love with him.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, she loves Morton.
she flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, something's. I don't
About
even want to
that.
speculate. Something's going on with Morton's got a special power or something. But yeah, he had her carrying the bags off the ship,
That's so great.
which is just
Man. What a
Man.
that's the epilogue I need to see.
where are they now?
Yeah.
Where's Morton? Uh, Frank tells Regina he found her missing ring. I found your missing ring, baby. Puts her, presents her with an engagement ring. They've known each other for.
Yeah, you don't need to get engaged.
It's the second engagement in like 2 minutes on this thing. What are you doing?
You can trust Frank. He hasn't touched a woman on the boat in 7 years.
But that's just it. It's not even just like a status change. It's a whole life change. He's going to stay on the boat and be married to her.
Yeah.
So some holes.
Well, we don't know if the plumber, like, is that plumber on every boat ride? Is he on half?
Oh,
Plumbers
is he
make a
always on
lot
the
of
same
money.
ship? Plus,
Right.
maybe he's rotating amongst the Pacific Princess fleet,
And
or whatever you want to call
I mean, he's obviously going to go pro with this poet thing. So I hesitate to criticize when they have the people get together, like married so fast, because I actually do like it better than when they just leave it.
Oh, 'cause
I'll never see you again, and I'll never get your contact information.
Well,
So if I had to take one, I would
Yeah.
take that one. But there is a middle that they just never do.
what about the Jacqueline Smith ending? Remember in the back of the cab, and the guy gets in the cab. Hey, I got a cab for you, and he like puts his arm around her. So you don't get
Well,
the
they couldn't
closure, but you
They
get a
couldn't get
little.
married.
Well, she wasn't even. She was still married.
She was still married, right?
You know,
And he was a
and
widower.
he kind of like. I was kind of close to my.
My dead wife.
But we were pretty close back in the day.
I
All right.
prefer that one because it was ambiguous. I actually prefer the Roxy Blue one because it was ambiguous.
I agree. I just wanted Roxy. I want Roxy Blue to come back. Just one episode. Just give me something. Give me an Easter egg. Something. It's not going to happen.
Comes back pregnant.
Isaac Blue. Woo!
Well,
you know
from what Roxy was saying, that would be a long line of.
Oh, it's not.
who's
Yeah,
the father. It's probably not either. Yeah.
Meryl, I'm sorry, Stubby and PJ say bye to the crew, and they promise Captain Steubing that they'll keep in touch. I say they're going to be living in San Pedro, which means if the ship ever has trouble docking, he can be reached on the radio. Here comes the humor. Steubing looks alarmed. He asks him if he knows what frequency. Stubby stares and says he has no idea. Captain Steubing says, "Let's keep it that way."
Yeah, walked right into that one, Stubby.
Bam. Now you're going to say something like that.
Yeah. Now he's bowing up as Dad gets off the boat.
It'd be great if his dad just smacked him. Say that to me. Just smack him right off the boat, back in the water. Get out of here. Talk to me. Show me.
Now.
Yeah, show the captain some damn respect, Meryl. Smack. Oh man. Julie apologizes profusely to Don Flanders for being trapped inside his cabin. Gives him a free ticket for a second cruise. That's cool.
At least they did something.
Well, he did say he got a lot of sleep and lost 13 pounds. So I guess that liquid didn't really. If you lost 13 pounds, Jesus, man, give the man something more than opaque brown liquid and 4 rolls. For a basket of rolls he has to share with somebody.
And a free ticket.
And a free ticket. Was he going to eat the ticket? Come on. Poor guy. 13 pounds. Then he calls
he
his
didn't
new
make it
pet.
home. He died.
He died.
Fell over the side
He
of the
died.
boat.
What happened? Malnutrition and dehydration. I never saw him drink anything the whole trip. Alcohol, water. I mean, he might have drank toilet water. I mean, that's
You
the
really
only
need
thing
to
I can
put
think of.
like plastic cups in these rooms just in case.
I mean, just and here comes the dog behind him. So this is the dog that was a boy that is now a girl that has. Here we go, carrying a basket in the dog's mouth. And that camera just stayed on that
Forever. That last scene.
What the hell?
So you know what's funny? The runtime of this episode was like 2 minutes shorter than every one we've done so far. So they were dragging to get to this, which it didn't feel like the first time. But they do double, at least 2 long shots on the dog with the basket. Like they were very proud of themselves.
Yes.
But then they also go reaction shot Julian Gopher, reaction shot Doc and Isaac.
And they go back to
for
the
a
dog.
while.
Yeah, it's like they were all just like,
Yeah.
like this was unnatural.
It
Just
was
stop.
like they were trying to get to 50 minutes. Like that was bad. That was a horrible ending to what it was already a horrible storyline.
Yeah, that dog thing was just. I wanted to be on board, man, but that was just when I saw it was a boy. 7 minutes 30 seconds into the episode. If you want to check the timestamp, come on.
I was so excited when Radar came in so hot as Don Flanders.
Yeah.
And then just really, it was a real
Just that
bait
was it.
switch.
He kind of just poofed out of because he wasn't. Wouldn't you think if you'd been stuck in your room that you'd have a little more P&V? Like when you're
Yeah.
out, like, woo, I have 1 day left. They didn't even
Right.
show him in the pool.
Right. He
Poor
was just
Radar didn't
so
even go
about
swimming.
he was just so about the dog that he couldn't even enjoy the only meal he had in 10 days.
Oh yeah, the doggy bag. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the only thing he was eating was opaque brown liquid. He's putting all kinds of
All
good
the-
stuff.
Right. Also,
Man,
hey,
you better eat that biscuit, Radar.
Hey, Ship. Since I'm apparently watching this dog, could you get me something for the dog? Is that possible? Am I asking too much?
A bowl of water or a bowl, something. Can we just get me?
Or could you clean this room? It's disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting. Do I have to sleep in here now?
Stay in this room.
Just sleeping on dog. Ugh.
All right.
Terrible.
King of the Mountain. I generally did like 2/3 of this. I really liked the roulette one. And I probably liked most of the Stubby storyline. I know you enjoyed it for different
Yeah.
reasons, but the dog thing just takes it out of contention to be the best episode for me. It was closer than it probably should have been. Like this very well may be the second best episode we've seen, but the dog thing was so bad.
It was so
that
bad.
It
Takes you
can't
right out of it.
possibly be top for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if that storyline had been a little more just laid out better, a bit more logical.
Or didn't exist.
I agree. I think it was an interesting episode. There was there was funny things, there was drama there. It gave you that feeling, but the dog thing the episode shot itself in the foot. Definitely not the best episode.
Because it really did feel almost tacked on, which didn't help it either.
Well, because it ended, it was over. That whole scene in the dining room with Radar and the thing that was completely unnecessary.
I think they did that. I have half a thought that was a stand-in for Radar when you can see the back of his head with Phil Silvers. Like it was shot so bizarrely that
Good one.
so.
And maybe he wasn't available,
He's a big star.
Yeah, maybe he didn't have a lot of time. Interesting.
Like who's your captain of the week?
Easy. It's Merrill Stubing Sr., Captain Stubing Sr., Stubby. Come on. Come on. He said things that I've been trying to say this. Who's driving the boat? We learned that there's this weird assistant captain, Mr. Walter, that no one's ever heard of. Deputy captain. Sorry about that, Mr. Walter. Computers, all these things. I love that Captain Stubing got so nervous that he was pressing him that he was just always trying to get the hell out of there. Like, I don't want to answer it. You'd think he'd take him to the bridge once. And for the record, we still have not seen the bridge of the ship.
Yeah.
This is 9 episodes, almost 9 hours of TV show.
And it's almost weirder to be on the bridge for 4 minutes than for no minutes. Like, what do you...
Or just a stock shot when they're pulling out or something.
Yeah.
They still are not showing it.
Mr. Walter's doing all the stuff.
But I think they're just messing with us with the writers going, you're never going to see the bridge.
I'm hoping like every 9th episode, there's basically a surrogate for you that is just complaining about what's happened so far.
Please do. Please do.
I'm going to go with Frank. He, in addition to being a real Lothario and obviously like a poet, he also appears to be the only one who's really working on this ship.
I agree.
Like we saw him do at least 2 things of actual work. Maybe 3, depending on what he was doing underneath that.
Underneath the hull,
stairwell.
like in the sweat. Yeah,
But
creeping.
Frank really he had a busy trip. Good for him. And
Where does he
now
find
he's
the time
engaged to
to?
a college professor at an undetermined university. So
Yeah, but didn't she say something about her leaving her job, or I'm not married to this, or something? Wasn't there? Or am I making that up? No,
this is what you wanted to happen.
I think so.
No, they're gonna write every day to each other.
Oh,
But that's
okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah. Walk the plank. Worst thing for this week,
That stupid dog.
just in general.
That stupid dog that started off as a male and ended up as a female.
The dog itself is this.
The dogs, both of them, the male and the female, just walk.
I'm gonna go with the crew for not taking care of that dog thing. I don't know whose purview it is, but the only person who really got stuff done was the SPCA guy. But Radar basically was trapped in a well this whole time, and they did not do anything. And put it this way, if it was me, and I would definitely be hiding in the bathroom from a weird dog. I would own that. I would own that cruise ship right now.
It'd be yours. You just have your name slapped on the back of it.
Yep, and then I'd sink it with everyone on board.
Oh, is this your job? Oh, you love this ship? Oh yeah. Watch this.
How's your watery grave?
Just pull the plug. There's a plug in the bottom of those ships. You just pull it.
That's the totals and a recap for this week.
Fantastic. Again, this has been episode 9. You can check us out. We are on Instagram at Loveboat Project, Twitter at Loveboat Project, Facebook group The Loveboat Project, and at Gmail, The Loveboat Project at gmail.com.
And we're on YouTube.
And we're on YouTube,
which you're probably watching if you can see this.
Where you'd probably get this.
Yeah.
The plug game needs to be strengthened here. I got to be honest with you.
Unless I put this on, maybe I'll put this on the Instagram, and then that way it won't seem ridiculous that we had to plug the YouTube.
That makes sense.
So if you're seeing this on Instagram, just, that's why we did this on purpose. It's viral.
Yeah, we know what you're doing.
And if you don't see it, I probably forgot that I mentioned it and didn't pull it. So
yeah. Well, until next time, I look forward to our next cruise together. Thank you for joining me, and I can't wait for our next 10-day cruise.
Toot toot.